So there's a few words that I found related to 3D designing.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you're going to know all of them, but if you do, just tell me a little bit about it. Wireframing. What is a wireframing?
A wireframing, if I understand, it just you can make like structures with lines. Um, oh, that's what I understand from wireframing. What I do, for example, I have this design of a motorcycle, but it's obviously the frame of the chassis, for example, it's not just straight lines. So it's like 3D lines. So what I was doing with this wiring part is I designed the whole chassis with lines, and then I extruded with a circle. So I got all the circle and all the weight from the line through the line, and I got the chassis. But I'm not sure if that's the real
It
meaning
sounds
of.
like the right context from what I read. But what I'm wondering now is like, why would someone do wireframing? Is it just to have the visuals, the optics, to see what it looks like?
I guess for measurements, sometimes I think it's better measuring just with single lines and then just get the whole structure done in just seconds. Like for example, I don't know, this microphone, that all this structure can be done with just those lines. Um, but yeah, I'm not really sure if that's the real meaning.
Okay, next one, prototyping.
Prototyping, yes, that's what I always do because um, you don't want to waste material, right? So also, if you want to start a product to make it cheaper, you can make a prototype on computer first, and then eventually just get a like the list of materials that you actually need, and then just not waste any material, you know. So prototyping, I use it for electronics and chassis as well. Basically for any product.
Okay.
So
Next one is conducting research. So as a designer, as a 3D designer, how important is it to do research?
it's really important because you don't come to the computer and start a design just from zero, like without knowledge, you know. I had actually a very interesting project back in school in university. A teacher asked us to make a bicycle with an extra mechanism. So as a mechanics, I needed to think like from the deformation, from the physics perspective. I needed to think from the weight, um, like the absorption of the weight when someone was riding the bicycle, and just find the weak points to make like stronger, you know. This bicycle that I made, it has a mechanism like a spring. Do you remember these all cards that you needed to
Uh-huh.
move back and then just release it?
Yep.
So my bicycle had the same mechanism where you needed to go back and then
Mm-hmm.
just release it, and you
Mm-hmm.
had that like extra push from the spring.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting part is like you don't design just a spring, you know. You need to follow a formula. Now again, the formulas, you need to follow a formula, so you need to do the research of what this formula involves, and then you go to the materials, and then you find this data sheet from the material, like the heat resistance, like the flexibility, the deformation. You need to consider all these variables and then just chuck them in the formula and start like getting results, changing again your design if something is not working properly. But yeah, it's like involving these simulations, 3D simulations, for each product. But yeah, you need to have every knowledge. Doesn't matter if you didn't study that before. You need to do your research, like just from internet. We have a very important source of information, which is internet. So you can find pretty much everything at the moment. For example, I had this UV jar sterilizer that I want to make for the factory. So I was doing my research and I found these UV lights, and you can actually sanitize jars without heat. You just need a light. And then you go to the data sheet of these lights, and then you find like, yeah, you need to leave the light on for 10 minutes. The jars need to be upright, and then just leave in there in a chamber that is totally isolated, because obviously the radiation, it's not bad for it's bad for your eyes. But yeah, it's just something that you have to do every time you design something. Just research, because obviously there's risks. There's waste of material. Yeah, you don't want to screw up anything,
100%. And I guess once you've done your research and you're trying to implement it, the trialing and testing period becomes really important, because you're not going to get it perfect the first time, right? I mean, Edison took 10,000 attempts to make a light bulb. So this is where the testing of the product feature, making tweaks, making it better, sometimes making it worse, but hopefully making it better overall really comes in.
Yeah. Even like if you do your research and then run a simulation 3D softwares, you still need to do the prototype in real life. See how that's gonna react with all the variables, because you obviously don't consider like gravity, for example, or like the air. How can I explain? Like the vibrations is another one.
Right.
There's so many variables you need to consider, like that you cannot run through a simulator.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
But definitely making a prototype in 3D softwares, it's definitely cheaper and safer.
Yeah, and I imagine it probably speeds up the entire process as well. In a 3D software, if you need to make a change, click, an hour's worth of work, you've made the changes, test it again. Made the changes, test it again, made the changes, test it again. And then when you're finally somewhat happy, then you make the actual prototype.
Yeah. What I love from 3D designing is like this gives you the whole vision of your product. And if you want to change something, you can change it straight away in the software. Avoid just wasting all the time and material in real life,
Exactly, which is a lot more sustainable, better for the environment, better from a budget perspective as well. Yeah,
for budget and time.
Yeah, actually. Another thing that I found, another word which is linked with 3D designers, CAD. What's CAD?
CAD is it's computer. Well, the CAD is just the softwares, the 3D softwares.
So this is where you would design everything and then you would test it. Excellent. And this is global. Everyone uses CAD everywhere.
Yeah, CAD is every software that is involved doing 3D, like AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Inventor, CATIA.
Okay, the CAD is the classification of all the softwares that's used in designing.
Yes, correct.
Right.
And then we have CAM, which is the ones on the machines. CAM is the machine, so like the software and the actual machine that makes the part in metal or whatever material you want.
Fantastic.